because I got all these bright people on the line. We might as well have them do it. So, Robin Sharma.
Thanks, Joe. So, Tony, like a lot of the wonderful people on the call, I love buying books for a lot of people. And just hearing you and having read your book, Money, Master the Game, you made me think of two people, my kids, my son Colby, who's 20, and my daughter Bianca. And I'm going to give out a lot of your book, but the two first books I'll buy would be for them, because just reading it and listening to you, you're going to save them years of frustration, mistakes, and confusion. And I want to thank you for that.
Thank you. So, thank you.
You're welcome. So, there's some financial influencers like Harry Dent, who I know you've interviewed for Power Talk, Peter Schiff, who are predicting another Great Depression. And they're saying that's based on all the over-leveraging, as well as you mentioned, Nixon getting off the gold standard in 1973. And some are even saying we're going to get to a situation like what happened in Germany in 1921, when people were running around with wheelbarrow money, and massive hyperinflation that led to collapses of economies and actually rioting in the streets. And I go right to your interview at the end of the book with John Bogle, where you ask the question, should we be concerned about another financial crisis? And his words really spoke to me. He said, never lose your sense of history. Don't think it won't repeat itself. As Mark Twain says, history may not repeat itself, but it rhymes. So we do face the possibility of a serious world financial crisis, and then John Bogle finishes up with even a world depression. I'm curious, do you think that's going to happen, Tony? And also, how can our many listeners protect themselves against this possibility?
Great question. It's something I've been obsessed about for years. It's why Harry Dent and I became such good friends, and why I've studied a lot of the people you're describing. When I went to the wealthiest people in the world who have the most to lose in an environment like that, when we all have the most to lose percentage-wise, but this is their entire obsession. Like Jack Bogle said, Tony, could there be a worldwide depression? He said, I say there's a 1 in 10 chance. He said, it's not a 1 in a million chance, not 1 in 1,000 chance, it's a 1 in 10 chance. He said, but what I can tell you is all seasons, including depressions, don't last forever. And when you come out of it, it's a correction that happens, and then there's great times. We all have to be willing to know that we have to be able to go through winter in order to have spring, summers, and falls. We have these great rewards. And so what I think you need to do is be prepared for winter. And that doesn't mean live in fear. I've seen, Harry's a dear friend of mine, and Harry's very, very smart, but Harry's timing has been off lots of times. Everybody's timing is off lots of times. So you've missed out on a lot of opportunity. There are a lot of people in that field who will say this is where it's going to happen. I think what you really have to be able to do is you need to have a security bucket that says, this is the part of my assets that I'm going to make sure I'm in good shape. They're not putting me at risk, and they're putting me in a situation where over the long term, I'm going to do well. If all hell broke loose, guess what? What you know about what would happen in depression, so everybody understands, is this idea of wheelbarrows. That one's highly unlikely to happen, according to everybody I talked to. And there's only one reason. It's not because we don't have ridiculous inflation. It's just that because of technology, it can be done seamlessly. Meaning, right now, we've had the Fed put trillions of dollars into the marketplace, and we should have seen, everybody said we'd have inflation. Right? Then everybody, we're going to have this massive inflation. Why didn't we? Because they put it in banks with ones and zeros. Nobody had to print it out. You couldn't possibly print all that money. If you did, we would have wheelbarrows all over the place. So we have a unique way of hiding the excesses of the system. The other thing that's happened is the whole world is tied together. So certainly the world could go through challenging times. And I think we're going to face some winters. There's no question in my mind we're going to face some winters. So here's what you do. You don't want to live obsessed with the downside. You don't want to live obsessed with freaking out, because it's like in your life, if you've made all your decisions and you say, what's the worst that could happen? And you use that to make your decisions, you're not going to have much of a life, because the worst that can happen rarely happens, but you base your whole life on that. Crazy. You'll never experience life at a high level. So what I look at is I say, okay, in a worst case scenario, I need to have a certain amount of money and assets and liquidity and ways of living. So for me, for example, I have my place in Fiji. I'm fortunate enough to have a whole resort and so forth, but I bought that place originally saying, I want a place that if all hell broke loose in the world, if it really did get crazy, if things got insane, some apocalyptic type environment, I could go with my family and friends and be in a magnificent environment that always has great weather, where I have natural resources all around me, and I got great friends. So I made the investment saying, and the worst case, I got what I just described. In my best case, I have the most beautiful place on earth to disappear to, and I can share this with friends and family, and it's a business, and it's the top resort in the country. So you can find your little getaway, and you can have your getaway forms of cash, and you can put a certain amount in gold or silver, and you can study all the things people do. But you do need to understand is, in a depressionary time or a deflationary time, which is all a depression is, what happens is money is worth more. And we've already experienced this. See, people have already experienced massive deflation in 2008. What happened to the price of, your multi-million-dollar home? Well, if it was in Vegas, if it was in Miami, if it was in Phoenix, Arizona, you know what happened. It went down 40%, 50%, 60%. So what happened? A dollar was worth more than the asset. So if you hung on, if you had some real money, you had more buying power. You could get twice, 3 times the house for less money than you would just a few years before. So deflationary times are not bad times. If we really had a horrible depression and you've got some money set aside and you're smart and you manage your life, it'll be the greatest opportunity in your life because it'll reset the button and then guess what? Everything will grow again. It has for 1,000 years of Roman history. It happens for all the modern day English history years that we know of between the U.S. and Britain. The resets will bring something better. Every season, every winter is followed by a spring. Every night is followed by the day. Some nights are longer, some winters are longer, some springs are longer, but they come. So we're going to have winter. It's going to happen. You want to be prepared for it by making sure you're taking a piece off the table. If you're a business owner, for example, it's going to affect your business. You better have some cash. You better have some money. You better have some ways to be able to balance your business. But I took all of my platinum partners. I have groups that are of just 300 people, and I only let 150 come on a trip at a time. So they got to lock in their trip when they go. And I do 4 trips a year. We do 4 trips a year. I do 2 of them with them now. And I did a surprise trip with them in 2008 because working with Paul Tudor, I knew what was coming, right? Anybody at the top knew what was coming. A lot of people tried to deny it, but they knew the whole system was going to blow up. I said to Paul, I got to go share this with my friends and family, and I got to put this on the internet. He goes, you're not putting this on the internet, Tony. You'll scare people. He said, you just can't do that. It won't work. And I don't want you doing it. He said, no, this is private information. I said, well, what if I share it with my family? He said, your family? Yes. I said, well, I have kind of a big family. He said, what do you mean? So I said, I got these platinum partners. They make these donations. It helps to support my foundation. I'd like to show them. He said, okay. So I got together 5 or 6 of the greatest experts in the world. And in April 1st of 2008, 5 months before the huge meltdown, I had everybody meet me in Dubai. And I said, I want you to meet me in Dubai. It's a surprise session. Just meet me there. And you're going to have the time of your life, and you're going to learn some stuff that's going to be invaluable and priceless to your financial life. People came in. We stayed at a 7-star hotel, which is really 4-star. It's got too many people serving you. But, we skied. It was 110 degrees outside. We skied in an indoor mountain. It's an amazing place. I brought them to Dubai because I wanted to see it. I showed them maps to Dubai from just 20 years before of desert. If you've been to Dubai, it's like Disneyland. It's like the most incredible place you've ever imagined. And it's the same distance from downtown Chicago, New York, as it is from Dubai to downtown Iraq. And you'd never know. It's a different universe. So I said, look what's been created by somebody being resourceful, because they were running out of oil. They had no resources, but they were resourceful. I need you to get resourceful as I tell you what's about to happen. And then I brought in these experts, and I said, the world as you know it financially is about to change completely. And people were shocked. Some people were angry as if I was doing something to them. But after 3 or 4 days, they woke up, and I made $2.7 million, and the market lost $2 trillion. And people around me made a fortune, because you can make more money when things are burning down faster than you can when they're building up. So if you really, truly understand what the opportunities are when things burn down, it'll be the greatest economic opportunity of life. Instead of going, oh my God, the world's going to come to the end. Say, oh my God, we have been doing a drug of cocaine called monetary stimulus for decades and decades. And we've been giving ourselves this drug, and we're going to have to go through a detox at some point. We should have gone through a detox in 2008, but instead we just printed more money and gave people more drugs. I mean, if you give somebody a bottle of Viagra, they're going to get up. The market's going to rise, right? But you can only keep doing that so long, and at some point you got to detox for your body to be able to respond again. We're going to have a financial detox. Nobody knows when. Nobody knows how long. Everybody knows it's coming. So what you want to do is you want to make as much as you can. You want to put aside as much as you can. You want to secure yourself as much as you can. And you don't want to fear it. You want to look for the opportunity. So you got cash, because cash will be king in that environment. And you want to be able to pick up things for pennies that you maybe can't even imagine owning today.